Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Car Extra Racing 2 with BrogAutohaus. Today's episode is all about the Godzilla R3. First, we're going to go through some top 32 competition qualifying runs and analyze some other runs as well, and then we'll get to the tuning towards the end of the video. So if you're here strictly for the tuning on the Godzilla R3, go ahead and jump to about the last 6 minutes or so of the video. But we do have some very entertaining stuff from the top 32 comp qualifying that I wanted to show you guys and kind of walk through. So as we get through this first clip here that I just recorded on the West Coast arena map in the game, we'll jump into the qualifying for top 32 XDS, which is the zone and the other style of competition they have besides just the DP, which is, in DP qualifying, you're looking for the most points possible. In XDS, you're actually looking for the cleanest run, smoothest run. And when you chase people in this exact model, you actually can hit them as opposed to the XDS points one and knock them off. So hopefully that makes sense to some of you guys. This is my first qualifying run, which I thought actually turned out really well. It ended up being the best qualifying run I had. I was a little too deep in that outside couple zones there. Good transition to that outside zone, and then came up a little late to that second to last outside zone, but a nice finishing corner to round out the runs. So this particular one gave me a score of 97, and I was feeling pretty good about that. I don't run this track very often at all. It's actually probably the first time I've actually ran a comp on it. So I'm not super comfortable with it, but I figured I'd give it a shot, try to use the R33 that we're making the video for today, and see what happens. So this time I got I started off good inside transition, but then I had to handbrake around that hazard zone, which sent me too wide and kind of threw my whole line off. So here I'm way too wide on the outside. Then I pushed in. Still had a pretty good transition here to get my rear bumper to the zone, and then was a late transition to the second to last zone. So obviously this one's going to be lower scored, but it did still end up giving me a 96. So I was kind of surprised to see that. Given that I felt like the run was significantly worse than the previous one that I had just done. So now round 3, I have a 97 on the board. I need to improve on that, so I'm just going to kind of send it as much as possible and see what I can do to get a better score. And as you can see right off the bat here, flicked it in, nice inside zone 1, got a better line, but still got too wide going out there on that corner to line myself up for this outside zone 2, 3, and 4. Came up shallow and had to re-enter, missed my clipping zone, missed that clipping zone, so I just got thrown all out of whack and absolutely failed on this final qualifying run. So something to look at in these is, especially in the XDS tandems, you need flow, you need consistency. It's not so much about speed as much as it is about angle and getting to all the zones at the proper time. Now, something interesting that I started to notice was, you can see here I'm qualified 15th, but later, as more people qualified, I got pushed down to 17th place, which put me out of the battle because there wasn't enough people to have a top 32. It was only a top 16. So I thought I'd go ahead and spectate the number 1 qualifier and see what we think of if that should really be the number 1. Obviously, he has an aggressive flick. He's on throttle hard, big angle. He's tucking really tight to that corner that I kept going too wide on. They did a really good job of this outside zone, not wavering or adjusting much, but keeping big angle. I thought it was kind of a shallow transition on those two zones there, and then kind of a weird line drawn on this all the way out to the outside where he basically ends in the grass. Now that's the number 1 qualifier. Good run, better than mine, obviously, but still not kind of the runs I would expect to see for a number 1. So this is number 2 qualifier. And he's in the Bandit here, the BMW. I really like his flow here. He's got big angle. He flicks it right to angle. He doesn't take time to get out to the big angle that he needs. He's hitting all the zones perfectly. Gets out to this final one there. Nice circle all the way around this final corner. And in my opinion, if this were a judged event, I would have placed him in first place over the previous run we had just watched. So now here's the bronze qualifying guy that I'm following here, and he's in a Spectre RS. He has a pretty good run as well, so he flicks it in, nice inside zone, gets that transition, kind of flicks it over, nice lot of angle there on that corner. And then really smooth around this whole corner. He's not really wavering or anything, perfectly smooth. Nice transition there, transition back, a little shallow on that outside second to last zone, but then finishes real nice as well. So he came in a little short on the end, but you know, it is what it is. So I wanted to go back and show you guys now the difference between, we're gonna watch my best qualifying run, which was my 97, and we're gonna compare it to the guy that beat me out by 0.3. You can see I was too far out on that first inside zone, had to handbrake to kind of readjust myself, but then flicking to the outside area here, was able to keep a fairly consistent line, but just a little bit of wavering, which I know affected my score. And then I didn't get out fully to that second to last outside zone, but again, a good finishing corner on the final turn. Now, this is what threw me for a loop. This guy here, with the Spectre RS, qualified with 0.32 of a better score than me. And I want you guys to tell me in the comments if you agree that he should have gotten the win out of the two in qualifying. First of all, what are those wheels and the stance? I mean, this isn't a stance competition, it's a drift game, so not sure, but it clearly works for him. He flicks it in, he's way too shallow, gets in the grass, gets a rear tire in the dirt, really wide on the outside here, and that naturally sends him far outside here, which he's only got one tire, barely touching the zone right there. Flicks it, you know, nice angle and everything, I'm not going to deny that. But then here at the end, he runs almost the entire car over the grass, jumps, and finishes, and that was a better qualifying run than me. So I just don't see in what situation that would be a better qualifying run than the one I had, but again, it's a game judging, so it is what it is. Alrighty guys, so we're going to jump into the body kits and tuning of the Godzilla R3, aka the R33 GTR. And for starters, on the body kit, we are running the missile kit on this one. It does have kind of the funky looking trunk, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but otherwise I do like the wheel arches and kind of the front splitter and everything. The CBW is a little bit more of a plain look with the original spoiler. The R&T is more of like a super doof kit or something, I'm not 100% sure. And then the D-Master, which looks nice, it's kind of like a Rocket Bunny sort of kit, but I just didn't like the styling of the spoiler and the fenders as much as the missile here. So that's why I picked that style, but we'll jump over to the tuning here. For this car, I do have it upgraded to Pro Drift 3. I do also have the 3.8 liter V6 twin turbo, which is out of the more modern GTR. It's the R35 that comes with this factory. So it'll be in the tuning workshop under BrogAutohaus. You'll be able to find it there. And let me know if you don't see it for any reason. I'll try to repost it, but usually it is up and posted live by the time the video is live as well. So we'll jump in and run through the settings here. We have 10 centimeters in the front spring size, 76 newton meters of stiffness, 83 on the sway bar, 0.04 of wheel toe, -5 camber, 8.9 caster with 79% Ackerman angle. I talk about this a lot, but the Ackerman angle and caster are very large components to having a good drift line. If you have too much front grip and it's kind of pulling the front of the car around, you need to increase that Ackerman angle to a higher number, and vice versa. If you have not enough grip in the front and you're sliding off track and not able to make corners, you know, try to lower the Ackerman level, and that'll give you a little more front grip and help pull you through the corners. So something to think of there. And then the bumps, rebounds, I don't think I've changed a whole lot of. You can see them all there. Pause it if you want to copy over the stats. Same thing on the rear suspension, not a lot done to the bumps and rebounds. -1 camber in the rear on this car, 0.06 of toe, almost no sway bar in the rear, and I do that for a little more grip, which if you are running this car with the stock motor, I would maybe put a little bit more stiffness in the rear sway bar since you won't have quite as much power as the engine swap that I have in here. And then 10 centimeters of spring size in the rear, so just 0.1 difference from front to rear. In the front, we're running a 19-inch 285 by 30 tire with 200 pressure, and then we're running a 19 345/30 in the rear. So same thing, same wheel diameter, but the profile width goes up by a ton. And this is another one where if you're still running the stock motor in this car rather than the engine swap, you probably want to run something more along like a 285 to 295 because the stock motor won't have the power to really kick that 345 around. So if you do that, also change your front maybe down to like a 265 if you're going to run a 285 in the rear. So I kind of offset it like that typically. And then you can see I have everything maxed out on the engine for 829 horsepower and 857 Newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers in 3.94 seconds. On the trans here, we have a 0.51 differential locking coefficient, and then a 4.0 overall gear ratio. And if you've noticed in my tuning videos from the past, most of my gear ratios have an overall of around 4 or between 3.5 and 4.5. So I do that, and then I usually shoot for fifth gear to be a 1.00. Now it's a 1.01 here, which between that and a 1.00 isn't going to make a big difference, but the 1.0 with the 4.0 overall gear ratio is kind of a good level to be at. And if you're on the stock motor and you still can't spin the tires with these ratios, try to increase the overall gear ratio from a 4.0 to maybe a 4.25 or a 4.5 if you still need more torque basically out of the transmission and everything going on there. So gear shifting delay at 0.2, so as low as it can possibly go. The brakes, I'm sharing 78% to the front axis at 4,600 Newton meters of braking momentum. And then you can see in the front here, this is basically based on the fact that I'm running a smaller tire up front, so I have it poked out 4 centimeters for the fitment there. And then in the rear, since I'm running a 345 that's so wide, I had to go -2 to make that just fit in the fender well there on the rear. Mass is all the way down, center of mass height is all the way down as well. Now we're just going to jump out on the track for a little test rip and see what we think. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the reviewing of the qualifying from top 32. I know I didn't make it too far into the competition to allow for some great content here with this car, but I thought it was interesting looking through some of those. I haven't really gone in depth looking at the qualifying in the past and kind of trying to figure out why somebody scored better than me or why not, and that was really cool to see. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and appreciate you guys for watching as always. Put your life in drive. That's going to do it for today's video. We'll see you next time.